So I don't know if this is a good idea, but I've just pressed the record button after having read a rejection letter from a publisher. And I'm not getting emotional about this because it's a rejection letter. I've had several of those and I've gotten to the point where I'm not taking it personally anymore. But this is the second occasion now where I have been told that my work has made it to round two. It's made it to the long list. It's not been immediately rejected. And it's gotten to a point where they just can't kind of take my application any further because there's other stuff that is just like they have to choose, right? I wasn't going to talk about this on the podcast today, but I was going to talk about something totally different, which I think I will. But I I find it really, really. On one hand, it's frustrating, but on the other hand, I'm also relieved that that I'm getting this feedback because it does demonstrate to me that my work isn't forgettable, that it was described as a pleasure to read. I've submitted other works where I've been told that my voice is sharp and my poems are powerful. Um, and it is an absolute privilege to receive that feedback, and I'm so grateful. And it's making me emotional because sometimes I look at my own work, or especially in this process of submitting to competitions and magazines and stuff, and when things get rejected, I just it I just have that like feeling of when is my work going to be the work that actually gets selected this time. And also it's also like knowing that I'm on the right track. It's quite difficult to know unless you're getting feedback if your work is actually resonating with people and whether or not it's communicating the things that you want to communicate. Welcome to the Sovereign Creative Podcast. I wasn't expecting a cold open like this, but that's what you get when you open your emails before starting anything else in the day. My name is Philippa, and I'm currently on my journey of getting published as a poet, but also developing a brand as a dressmaker and corset maker. I have been very much in the experimental process at the moment of figuring out what exactly it is that I want to make. And then on the poetry side of things, doing a lot of competition entries, submissions, writing more work, developing more material. And my intention for the podcast today was to talk about how it's been so far, now that it's been about 6.5 months. Well, actually, 16th of January to 16th of July. Yeah, so it's been 6 months since I submitted my notice, moved away from London with my partner, and have been financially supported by him for the last 4 months, give or take. And the experience has been absolutely incredible. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But the other thing that I will also be talking a little bit about is the finances behind this and how I've been able to manage doing this, and how I will be able to manage this until the end of the year. So firstly, how it's been going. Having my time freedom has been incredible. I currently don't have to work. I think towards the end of the year, I think I will have to pick up some sort of part-time job, because I don't want to use up more savings than necessary, especially once I've gotten to a point where I know what it is that I want to be doing, and I have invested the time in the creative direction and the like exploration of purpose that I have been using this past 4 months for, since fully quitting my job and moving, which that took like 2 months out of the 6. So in 4 months I have done so many fun things. I was able to spontaneously go to the UK Games Expo and have met people who are prolific within a community that I've been watching and enjoying content from over the last year. I've been invited to play on streams for this particular game as well, which has been very fun, and I'm just excited to get involved in that community further. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was working on the weekends, or if I was, working a corporate job. I wouldn't have spontaneously been able to pick up and just go to the Games Expo if it wasn't for that. So, which is what I intended this time to be spontaneous, time to go and explore things, time to pick up and see friends during weekdays, or, visit family during a weekday. Like this time has just enabled me to just literally go where the wind blows. And that's been really incredible. I've also been able to just slow down. My sleep schedule, it can vary, but waking up before 9:30 has always been extremely difficult for me. And I think partially mental health reasons, partially neurodivergence reasons, but also my lack of accountability at the moment has meant that I have been getting up later, but at the same time I've been waking up when I feel well rested, and that has felt good, because then I just get to start the day with intention. I don't wake up and, well, I do wake up with a lot of thoughts running through my head, and I'm instantly, which is probably one of the reasons why I like to sleep in a bit longer, is as soon as I wake up and I'm conscious, thoughts start flowing through my head. So I've just been able to get up when I'm ready to get up. I have been doing a lot of meditation practice. I'm now a fully fledged student of Kate Thomas's Spiritual Life Upgrade, which is £120 a month, including taxes. So I'm also funding that as well with my savings. But yeah, I'm able to invest a lot more time in the things that matter to me, whilst also doing it at a pace that isn't adding unnecessary pressure onto me. And I'm extremely, extremely grateful for that. So kind of typical day in the life for me at the moment is that I'm usually waking up at around 10:30. I meditate until 11. I have my breakfast at 11, and then I start work at 11:30. So that's either tidying up my space to then start sewing, it's checking emails. I'm almost getting married towards the end of September, so wedding planning, because I'm the one that's not working and being financially supported by my partner, I'm taking a little bit more of the mental load and the project planning related to that. I also had my hen do over the weekend, which was just so lovely and so incredible, and I just felt so loved by my friends over the weekend. It was gorgeous. So I have been able to take things at a pace that has worked for me. This has been a more expensive endeavour than I thought it was going to be. I budgeted to be spending around £900 a month on the expenses and on the competitions and stuff that I need to be spending money on. But primarily due to a bit of travelling, having to catch trains more often, and also trying to see friends when I have the opportunity, those expenses are around £1,200 a month. In our expenditure, my partner's predominantly covering the rent, the council tax, and the water, and then I'm covering the electricity and gas, which has gone up, and also covering the odd grocery shop. I don't do every single grocery shop, but I do cover the odd grocery shop. So and because groceries themselves have just gone up, we're spending more on groceries than we were last year. I'm spending more money than I thought I would be. So I am going to have to approach that problem at some point. But again, I'm privileged now that I don't have to do that just yet. It is a little bit frustrating having to use savings for this and be able to have this time back. And the fact that at my age, due to my circumstances, I had some savings in the first place that I could then build upon to be able to have this creative gap year is a major, major privilege. It's something that, not having had parents since I was 13 and being raised by grandparents, that I couldn't envision myself ever having this experience. But because I've got a partner who I feel really, really secure with, because he's also got really, really good financial safety nets, it did absolutely make it easier for me to take the leap. And I would have found it much more difficult to take the leap if I was by myself. I really, really enjoy my own space and my own peace, I would have struggled, I think, to go back to my family home or to stay with family during this time. But with my partner, I like 100% like feel safe and secure in an unconditional way, which I needed to be able to feel safe so that I could actually do this. I also sometimes like, there are some days where I feel like I'm not being quick enough or I'm actually being lazy by, waking up later whilst my partner's working full time. And I still do, I do some of the chores, but I'm not over correcting on the amount of chores that I'm doing just because I'm not working. So that is still kind of like more or less equally shared. Sometimes Jorge does more, but I do sometimes get the niggling thought in the back of my mind that I'm being too lazy or that like this process needs to happen quicker. But then something comes along and I realize things are happening at the pace that they're meant to be happening. If I do need to pick up a job, then I will find one. I keep thinking about it. I've been thinking about it over the last 2 weeks, and like I'm asking myself, like, should I go out there and look for something, or should I pick up something locally? But the flexibility that I have right now and the time freedom that I have to literally choose whatever I want to do each and every single day, that has not made me a lazy person. I have created so many things. If you're on Instagram, I'm a bit sporadic at the moment, but I have over the past 4 or 5 months been posting as much as I can about the things that I've been making. I post a lot about the process on my stories, but I also post the finished product on the feed, which is always really, really fun to film. So I've made a variety of different garments, one of which that I want to take forward and start producing for different people in different sizes. I have submitted to several competitions and, gotten the feedback that my poems have made it through made it through to the second round and made it through to a long list of selections. And then, gosh, I'm just trying to think what else has been going on. Obviously, the wedding planning, as I mentioned, but the dressmaking piece, I think, has been the main one where I intend to build that up this year to be able to make money, and then enable myself with the poem side of things to kind of take things as they come. And because I can't envision a timeline on when exactly I'm going to get published, or when my poems are going to be selected, or when is the right time for my work to be able to be created into something that I can then promote and sell. So other than that as well, I have also been thinking about, like, in future, especially when I do have a collection, I do want to make the most of the opportunity monetarily. As you'll be aware, and well, in case you're not aware actually, that sometimes the publishing industry, depending on what kind of experience or what kind of deal you get, that people don't make very much money from the books themselves. They typically make money from doing events, touring, and merchandising. So I've even been thinking ahead about the kinds of things that I want to create to be able to sell at my launch events when I have my book published. I'm thinking about textile art. I'm thinking about putting my poetry onto fabric and seeing what kind of pieces of artwork that I can create. I'm thinking about putting some of my poems on clothing and seeing what that could look like. So I'm just giving myself the headspace and the breathing room to just put down all of these ideas, and so that when the time comes, I've then got a clear set of projects in mind that I can start and that I can work on ahead of, say, a book publication. So that's how it's been going so far. There's been a lot of things on the list that I think it was at the very beginning of the year, or at least late last year, when I've been doing my spiritual work. There are several things that I wanted to happen this year that have happened. I think one of the only things that hasn't happened is being able to go and visit my partner's family by train instead of catching the plane, because I want to experience what that's like. And so that then in future, when I am paying for my own tickets and stuff to be able to go and see my partner's family, that I'm just reducing my impact. That's something that I'm really keen to do, but I can only do that when I have the resources and when Jorge's parents aren't paying for flights. So it's been a really nice time, and I wouldn't give up this time for the world. I do have that niggling thought of getting a part-time job or needing to get something, but I just want to make the most of having this time freedom whilst I've got it. I was going to talk about more about how proximity to wealth has completely altered my brain chemistry in this podcast. But I think that's going to be next week's episode. I wasn't expecting for this to be more of a status update, but it turns out it has, and I'm actually grateful for it. I'm also, as you can tell in each episode, I'm trying to figure out where exactly I want to sit in our flat so that I can record these episodes, trying to find either the right lighting or the right setting in a way that so I can continue to record that makes me feel comfortable. I do like the concept of using this armchair just because we never sit in this armchair otherwise. I'm going to leave things here. I'm about to go on holiday for 3 weeks. I think that I'm going to use that time to take a break for 3 weeks for the podcast. So I will be back in the middle of August. But I hope that you're all having a lovely evening. I will see you at the next episode of the Sovereign Creative Podcast.